Hi, everybody. Welcome to Life with Anita. So, today's episode is going to be one that is a lot of times people don't want to talk about it. But my show is about life, education, relationships, and just being really transparent and open. So, today we are going to have a conversation because I have experienced some things. I have people who I know that have experienced some things. So, let's talk about the state of the feminine man and the man that tears down women because of his weakness. Now, I am a person who is not afraid to speak my truth. I'm not afraid to speak the truth because I believe that that's so necessary in the world that we live in today is to be honest, to be truthful, to tell the truth about things that are happening and tell the truth about what the issues are at hand. So today I would like to talk about feminine men who because of their internal issues, they then project that onto women who are strong, women who are good, women who have a kind heart, and these men who suffer from mental health issues and they are narcissistic, how they continue to abuse women in different forms and matters. Now, I will have a very transparent moment. So, I was in a relationship with a man for a couple weeks actually. And being in the relationship with him, at first it seemed like because a man who is just prone and that's what his patterns are is to abuse women mentally and verbally and physically. He has traits, right, that you can't really ignore. So I had met this guy and I thought he was one kind of person, right? But he actually was a narcissist. And now, as you guys all know, if you have been following my story, my ex-husband was a narcissist, right? So I learned a lot studying that. I studied a lot of psychology. I studied a lot about narcissistic abuse and what that looked like and the things to watch out for as me being a victim of that. And when I met this new guy, we had been together for a couple weeks and he was like at my house all the time and we were going all these places and I had just been around him a lot. And he would be in the house with me and he would start to display some things that I had seen in, my ex-husband before. He would start to display some things that I had read and heard about of what it's like being with a narcissistic abuser. Now, the story that this guy had gave me was all his exes were crazy. The same thing that a lot of men who normally when they are the abuser, they'll tell you that every woman that they've been with is crazy. So this new guy that I started to date, he would come to my house and he'd be here and he'd be like, listen, all the women I've ever been with, they were crazy. They did all this terrible stuff. And I'm like this great guy. I don't know why they would do things like that to me. And I'm sitting here like, I've heard this before. So now, as I'm still healing, trying to figure things out and process, what's going on and get past and keep going on the journey that I'm on as far as healing. As I was listening to this guy and he was like, yeah, he was like, I love you and we're together. And he's like, I'm a different kind of guy. And he's like, I portray one thing on the internet, but in real life, I'm not like that. Right. So me personally, I was like, something just don't feel right. I noticed that he always wanted to be at my house. And for me, like I'm a businesswoman. I'm very structured. I'm very mature. I really try to stray away from people kind of overwhelming me, people causing me stress, because as you heal, you understand the importance of protecting your peace. And I would notice that he wouldn't come over my house to spend the night or spend a couple days at my house to like spend quality time and have a good time and like be a real couple. He would purposely come over. He would trash my house. He would curse me out, call me all types of names. So we went on this trip out of town. And we were out of town for like a week. And the whole time we were out of town for this week, now mind you, me and him had just got together. And he was like, I need you to go on this trip with me. It's very important. And we took a road trip, as in me, him, and his friend. Now we are driving, and I was like, okay. He was like, I just need your emergency help. I need you to go on this trip. We can't go on this trip without you. We really need you. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, I just started dating this guy. I'm like, let me be nice and go on this trip. We go on the trip. We get there. We are staying in hotels and stuff like that. And one instance, he took my phone. And he's like, I need your phone. He's like, I got to try to call my friend. He's like, something wrong with my phone. So I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. Take the phone. So, if I'm with somebody, I'm very open and transparent. There's not a man that I have not been with that if he needs my phone or if he needs something from me and we're together, okay, here you go. I have nothing to hide. So he takes my phone to his friend's hotel room. And they start to go through my phone. They start to screenshot personal information in my phone. Now, I don't find this out until later when his friend approaches me and says, your boyfriend told me to come and basically have sex with you, and you didn't know that I was supposed to come over here and do that to you, but he told me to come do it to you. And I was just stunned. I was like, wait, what? He was like, well, we went through your phone, we saw this, and he was like, that's why, he's being so mean to you. And I thought it was all a lie until the person I was seeing, a couple of days later, he started cursing me out like the whole way back to Texas. He was cursing me out, calling me names, like he was pointing all in my face, jumping in my face as I was driving, and just being really verbally and mentally abusive to me. And then he physically assaulted me while I was driving. So we get back to Texas, and he is just really like off his rocker. Like, so every few days he's doing something else to like nag at me and like trigger me. And then my whole issue was, if I went through domestic violence and I just suffered traumatic abuse, right? Like, if anybody has read my book, if anybody's been around me, if anybody knows me, I've suffered very traumatic things in my previous relationship. Now, this new guy was not like blindsided. It wasn't that he didn't know. He knew all this. So for him to come in and abuse me, it was just terrible. And mind you, we had only been together for a couple weeks. And so as now I'm sitting here kind of processing things, I'm like, what in the world is going on? And like, he would have these things where he would be like, well, other women did these kind of things to me in the bedroom, so you have to do that too. Or other women were like this in bed, so you have to be that way too. And it was making me uncomfortable because I don't want to do things that somebody else did that I don't do. So, and it was things that made me uncomfortable that he wanted me to do. And like he would, and now this is a very explicit episode of Life with Anita, but this is also me being transparent in hopes to help someone else. So we would be in the bedroom, and the things that he would make me do, it would make me so uncomfortable, I would cringe afterwards. And when you're like in the bedroom with your spouse, somebody that you're with, you're supposed to feel good about what's happening, you're supposed to feel a certain way. And I felt like cringy. I felt disgusted. It was stuff I just didn't want to do. And he just was so aggressive about me doing these things. And it made me feel so just terrible. And I began to feel uncomfortable the more and more that we were together, because it would get so bad where if he got mad about something, he would trash my whole house, right? I mean, throwing stuff all over the place, just leaving messes, throwing stuff all in my sink, like destroying my house. And then he would get on the phone and call people and be like, well, can you come get me from her house? Because she's doing something, or she's making me mad, or she's acting like this and I don't want to be over here, right? It was all a ploy to basically make people believe something about me that wasn't true to cover up the abuse I was suffering. Or if I was laying in my bed in my house and I normally keep my bedroom door open, he would be like, you're on punishment, so I'm going to come and lock you in your bedroom. I'm going to hold the door so you can't get out. Or I'm going to close the door and I don't want to see your ugly face. I don't want to see your face. I don't want you talking to me. Right? And so it began to be like these stints and patterns of him being abusive to me. And after what I went through with my ex-husband, as you all know, I wasn't going to tolerate this. So I ended up dating him for all of 4 weeks. Yeah, no, it was about 5 weeks total. And in 5 weeks, the substantial mental, verbal, financial abuse, the physical abuse that he subjected me to, and the way that he would walk around. Now, mind you, this is how I knew something was wrong with him, because he would walk around and he would play these videos that were telling what he was, but then he would say that it was me. Now, one thing I know by studying psychology, by studying relationships, as me being somebody who I am a person who I run support groups. I give support to women to not be in toxic relationships, right? So I stayed with him for all of 5 weeks, off and on. And he would be like, why every time something happens, you try to get away from me? He didn't understand that I'm a very much more healed version of myself than what I was before. So a lot of things I may have tolerated before, I don't tolerate now. So that's why a lot of men, they are like, well, you don't go for this, you don't go for that. You know, you're very just like one time and you're just pretty much done with the engagement. That's because I truly value my peace. I value my time. I value what I work hard for. And it was almost like, because he had nothing to lose, he didn't care if he made other people lose things, right? So when I was sick, I'll give you a perfect example. I got sick and had to go to the hospital. He was perfectly fine on the way to taking me to the hospital. But when we got to the hospital, I was checking myself in. He walks up behind me and checks himself in and says he needs to be seen by a doctor, right? So that he didn't have to be there for me as a support, which is why he claimed that he came. So I sat in the hospital room and I'm sitting here like, okay. So I sat in the hospital by myself, right? And while he's getting checked out in a whole nother room and nothing's wrong with him. So he gets discharged before I get discharged, because as everybody knows, or even if you don't know, I suffer from sickle cell anemia. So a lot of times my body goes into what they call a crisis, where I have to be hospitalized. I get sick. My body weakens. So I had been going through this, and my sickle cell was flaring up also, because I had just literally, like, I cannot tell you guys how just difficult it was to deal with it. But he knew I had sickle cell, right? He knew I was sick. But he then got discharged like a couple rooms down from me. He came to my hospital room and sat in there with me, called me every type of bitch in the book. Okay, excuse my language, but this is a very explicit episode, and I'm going to be very transparent and honest here. He called me every bitch in the book while I was in the hospital bed with IVs in my arm, right? And he took my car keys. The nurse came in and said, well, I need you to try to get up and give us a sample. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, I get up out the bed, and they're trying to assist me to get to the bathroom. So as I'm being assisted to the bathroom, I go in there. I leave my car keys like on the hospital bed, because I had to get up. So he takes my car keys and he leaves. Like, gets up, takes my car keys, says nothing to me. I come out the bathroom at the hospital. My keys are gone. He's gone. I'm steady calling him like, where are my keys at? Where are you? Why'd you take my car? Now, the issue with this was that this was the start of something far worse than what he had already been doing. So he had this thing where he would just take my stuff and he would bully me. And when I would ask for my things back, he called me every name in a book, tell me I'm evil. And he had this thing where he would, like, he's a black man, but he would always walk around and call me black ghetto bitches. And he would be very disrespectful. He'd tell me how he hate black bitches and we're nothing. And he would be so evil. And then he would call like his relatives or he would call his friends and he would tell them a different story from what actually happened. I even recorded one time where he called one of his female friends and he was saying the most derogatory things about me on the phone right in my face. And it was just really terrible for me because as a woman, I am not in the business of tolerating being disrespected. I'm not in the business of tolerating anything just to keep a man because that's not myself. I'm very independent. I'm very educated. I'm very career driven. I'm very strong. I'm very powerful. Like, I'm a great woman. So I don't do anything just to keep a man. So he lasted 5 weeks, right? So that tells you I'm a little different. So my ex-husband lasted 5 years. He lasted 5 weeks. So I kind of knew that I had healed a lot more because I wasn't willing to negotiate my peace and my happiness and my mental sanity for the sake of just having a man. I think a lot of times there are so many men, and I don't know what's happening today, okay? Because all men are not the same, but a lot of the men these days are giving more feminine energy than masculine energy. And us women who are tired of being in survival mode, who are tired of being just stressed out, who are tired of going through the most to be in a relationship, we want masculine men who are able to allow us to effectively operate in our feminine skin, right? And oftentimes people will just deal with things that are happening just to say that they have somebody. But what my healing process has taught me is, no, you don't put up with anything just to say you got somebody. You don't tolerate disrespect. You don't tolerate abuse. You don't tolerate those things because somebody wants to be with you or you want to be with them. And even though me and this person knew a lot of people, a lot of the same people, and we were in the same circle of some people, I had to say, I'm not tolerating this. I'm not doing it. It will not be my situation in my life because I don't want to allow someone to project their insecurities and their weakness and their issues onto me when I don't deserve that. So what I will say is that I am hoping that time begins to just transform things where men can begin to be men. Like, he would even tell me that women should pay him to be with him because it's not a man's job to provide for a woman. And that's when I was like, whoa, we definitely ain't going to be together long. Because I was raised that a man provides, a man takes care of things, a man does what a man is supposed to do, and a man should lead properly. So as I'm dealing with this person, I'm seeing more and more of feminine traits versus masculine traits. Now, to each is its own, but the kind of woman that I am, I need a man who is secure in his masculinity. I need a man who is not going to do any and everything because he's either drunk or he's high or people are basically pulling him to do things because he wants to be a follower and he can't lead. So an undisciplined man, an uncontrolled man cannot lead effectively to be able to create a structure that a woman who has morals and who has things going for herself, we cannot effectively coexist with a man like that. So it was really hard for me to even deal in that situation for as long as I did. So I wanted to have a really open, transparent conversation here today in hopes of what I'm sharing, it will help somebody else. Because a lot of times people will say, okay, well, when you say feminine men, you're attacking men. I'm not attacking men, but I'm saying that the group of men who are feminine energy and they are projecting their insecurities, their unhealed trauma onto us women who don't deserve it, that is later leading to us being put in abusive scenarios, abusive situations. It's not fair to us. So basically what I'm saying, all of that to say is heal yourself, fix yourself, do what you need to do to be the best version of yourself. Fix yourself before you get into relationships with us who are either healing, who are either healed, or we are on a growth path where we are not willing to negotiate our mental sanity just to have somebody because they are not healed and they have not did the inner work. They have not fixed themselves. So that is what I said. Everything I just said to say is it's not our job to fix people. It's not our job to tolerate things because other people are broken. They are unhealed. What I am saying also is that I wish that it would be more men that would really stand up, that would really just show that, you know what? Men are still men. The world has distorted what relationships should be. The world has distorted what marriages should be. The world has distorted what the woman should look like, what the man should look like. And it's so much distortion that it's hard for you to effectively figure out what's this and what's that. And mental health is real, okay? And that's not a joke. I take that extremely serious because I help so many people. But mental health is real. And when people don't deal with it and it festers and they have all these coping skills to try to cover it, and then it comes out and you have to be put in that dangerous, scary situation. Like I was with somebody that suffered from so many things that I didn't even know about, right? And then all of that got projected on me. That put me in a situation where I started to feel like I was back in another abusive relationship. And as me healing, the more I learn every day, I don't want to be in environments like that. I don't want to be in toxic environments. I don't want to just attach myself to somebody to say that I'm with somebody. So I hope that everybody else will also begin to operate and keep that same mindset. You have to love yourself enough. You have to really believe in yourself enough to understand that when it's time for you to have what you need, that God will provide that. And as I'm sitting here now and I'm single again and I'm just by myself and I'm having time to think and just recuperate, it is something that has been eye-opening. When you get by yourself, when you can think again, it really will show you some things. It really will transform your mind a lot because then you can think with clarity. When everybody's around you and so much is going on, you can't think straight. So now that I am in that isolation and that alone time and I can talk to God and I can see through things and figure things out, it has been just eye-opening. So I hope this episode really helps somebody. I hope people understand everything in the episode. This is not a bashing men episode, but it is a topic that I feel like needs to be discussed. I feel like there are so many things going on, and speaking from experiences I've had and the experiences that have been shared with me by others, I felt the need to discuss this topic. Everybody is entitled to their opinion, but what I do feel is that I hope that the world transforms for the better. I hope that the roles that the men are supposed to play, that the women are supposed to play, that everybody gets back into what their role is, that there is proper structure put back into society. Thank you guys for tuning in to Life with Anita. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'll be back to do another episode soon. But peace, love, blessings. Thank you guys for tuning in.